is a favorite topic for me, as you all know. I am a student of something I call Courageous Conversations, which is a system for having the important conversations that we often avoid because we don't know how to do it. And I think because we want to have them, but aren't sure they will go well. And I think we often get a lot of evidence that they won't go well. I think all of us can relate to conversations where after we had it, either someone burst into tears during the conversation that made it awkward, or they stomped away, or they got angry, or they had their feelings hurt and we wished we wouldn't have even brought it up. So I think those are often, that's often the history that we have with conversations that are super important for a team or anybody who's trying to collaborate together. And so we kind of adopt the attitude that maybe they're just better avoided. And I'm sure that all of the people on this panel would agree that avoiding it just adds to the trouble. So today, I think we all wanted to come together to share some tips and tricks and thoughts about how a team could up-level their ability for collaboration and cooperation, and how they could engage in those conversations in a way that would be more successful than potentially they've had in the past. So my name's Catherine Itel-Belt, and I'm hailing today from Southern California. Can we just go around the room and let you guys introduce yourself briefly and let those that are listening know who you are?
Sure. You bet.
How about you, Debbie?
You bet. My name's Debbie Castagna. I'm the owner of Castagna Coaching. I work with dentists and their teams, and my objective is to always make a significant impact, learning what it is that's important to them. And I've been doing this for quite a while and have a real love for what it is that I do. So I appreciate the opportunity to share some information with you all today.
Yeah, this is a group of superstars, so glad you're here. Melinda, how about for you?
Hi, I'm Melinda Hereford. I'm here from Northern California, Lincoln. I am the owner of Practice Management Consulting, and I love that we get to change lives every day, and we get to change lives by really supporting the leaders leading, loving on those team members that are contributing like crazy, and really growing businesses. So, each day we get to put this stuff together, and today and now it is a challenging time to really love on each other and to get through it. So I'm happy to be here and in collaboration with my best pals here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Melinda, you're so right. I mean, this is a time where leaders, we need their leadership more than ever. The teams do, and their businesses do, and teams are stressed to the max. So finding ways to love and support each other is challenging, but so important. So glad you're here. How about you, Larry?
Hey, you know what? I'm Larry Gazzardo. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, the land of the free and the home of the Braves. World champion Braves, I might add. And those who know me know that I'm a practice management consultant. I focus on making sure that offices are productive and not merely busy. And we do that by putting good systems in place to support one another. I'm a firm believer that people communicate really well and work together really well when they understand their jobs really well. So that's what I focus on in my consulting.
Fantastic. Fantastic, Larry. Thank you for joining us all the way from Atlanta. And how about our little Miss Perky Gigi, Jerry Gottlieb?
Well, thank you, Catherine. Good morning. I'm Jerry Gottlieb, and I am the owner and founder of GG Practice Coaching and Development. Like this amazing panel of friends and colleagues, I've been in this industry now. This is my 30th year in dentistry. I know. Yes, I'll answer the question really quickly. Yes, I was a wee baby when I started,
Okay.
just a wee little
Me
baby.
too.
Yeah. I have spent the better part of the last 10 years truly focusing in on understanding and helping teams and leaders grow and develop. And we spend a lot of time focusing on leadership and leaders and developing those. And I think, and it's critical and it's important. One of the things that really struck me at the height of COVID, though, was, do team members actually know how to be team players and on a team? And so a lot of my focus right now is on developing team members to play on a team by understanding themselves, how teamwork should look, could look, can look, and then of course with the guidance of leadership. So I focus a lot on the team and the leadership.
Well, that's a fantastic way to kick off a conversation, I think, Jerry. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do give your top tip, if you will, for how team members can better learn to play well on a team. What would you say? Top tip.
I think my top tip is, I think, one that Larry and I share, and that is understanding ourselves and our style, and then our role on the team, whether it be a dental practice or any team. So I do that first with helping them understand, who are they? We use DISC, or I use DISC, and it's not the only assessment tool that we use, but it's the main one. So who are we? What is our style? How do we learn? How do we communicate? How do we participate? And then what is our role and purpose of our role in the practice
and
or
how
on
do you
the
do that,
team?
Jerry? How do you do you take job descriptions out and look at them, or do you have conversations about what's the best way for a team to really understand their impact through their role?
Yeah, so get really clear on the vision and core values of the practice, the doctor, the leaders, the management. And then let's look at the job descriptions and the job roles, but let's also look at who am I on this team, and how do I impact that role? And how does my role impact the other roles on the team and the success of the team overall? So let's look at the job descriptions. Let's define these. Let's ask some questions. Are we doing the right role that suits our talents, our strengths, our personality? Yeah. And then how does that relate with the rest of the team? What does our team dynamic look like based on our styles and our job roles?
Larry, would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. And I think when you piece everything together, you're right. You have to have the right people in the right place. And then each of those people have to understand how what they do affects somebody else. I think a real simple example would be if we go back to the days when we had paper charts. If the person dismissing the patient brought the chart up to the front desk and then handed it, to the person who dismisses them, who enters in all the fees and stuff like that. But let's say, for instance, they just put the chart on the side of the front desk, and that person has to get up. I'm just trying to give a real basic kind of example here. But if that person has to get up every time to go get the chart because you couldn't hand it to them, can you see how that would have an effect on their job? And it sounds really simple, like, well, what's the big deal? Well, if you're the one who has to get up 85 times a day to go get something, now that creates a rub. And so that's where we have people not understanding. If you would bring it to the person and hand it to them, they could now talk to the patient. So my key here is they have to understand, what effect does what I do have on the way somebody else does their job? My job might be a little bit easier, but did I just make it harder for somebody else?
For somebody else. Yeah.
And then on top of that, they have to understand the overall effect that it has on the care, or maybe the image that we project to the patient.
Hey, look who joined us.
Yeah.
Eric
Hey,
is
everyone.
here. Hey, welcome, Eric.
You
Better
can't.
late than never, right? Hey, what'd I miss?
Well, we were just, you don't bring a group of
Exactly.
consultants together and have them not just jump in for the work. So we were just carrying on a conversation.
All right.
Right,
Well,
plus
Great
Eric,
job, Catherine.
Eric, you have to remember, most of us teach scheduling for a living. So it's really embarrassing for us to start late. So
That is
it's true.
But we
That
did
is
it.
true.
We did it.
Never get a bunch of coaches and consultants together and start late. So
Uh-uh.
everyone, thank you so much for joining me. And I joined the party, but better late than never. And thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Block. And this is the I Love Dentistry Expert Panel brought to you by Deals for Dentists, the online marketplace. And you can find new customer offers on dealsfordentist.com and check out the Deals for Dentists podcast. So the ILD panels are all about knowledge sharing with renowned industry experts in dentistry. And a lot of these topics transcend just dentistry, and they'll help people from all professions. And today's panel, which you've probably already gotten to know, is made up of coaches and consultants. And the topics are teamwork, team communication, and conflict management. And we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. And I wanted to go around and start to introduce the expert panel. First, we have Catherine Eitel-Belt.
You know what, Eric, I'm going to jump in because we kind of introduced ourselves pretty quickly all around the room. So you could probably just skip that.
So let's go. I'm going to go right into some common questions that I think a
Great.
lot of not just dental professionals, but I think all entrepreneurs or business owners or just people in professional workplace may have questions about. And maybe let's go through and get an answer from everyone, because all of you may have a different answer, and that is okay. It's the more the merrier. That we can get out of this, great. And I wanted to start with, and stop me if you've already gone through a lot of this, but conflict. Have you already gone through conflict management?
Not really. Mm-mm.
And Eric,
Let's-
is there any way you could free up our videos so we could see each other? Is that possible?
It is probably possible, but can I figure it out? Maybe. Let's see.
No, okay, then no worries, no worries.
Maybe the team can help me out with that. Let's
Yeah,
see.
that'd be awesome. We'll just
Yeah.
delegate that.
Okay. So who wants to jump in first about conflict, which, a lot of dentists, we come out of school with minimal clinical skills. We don't have, much business skills or HR skills. How do we deal with conflict among team members?
This is Debbie. I'm happy to jump in with this one. When you look at conflict and the fear that it seems to bring up, whether it's the business owner or a team member, is that they often think that it has to be something that's hard. And oftentimes the reason why it feels so hard is because finally dealing with a situation that has been challenging takes so long. So you're ready to pop by the time you get to that point. But my lane with this panel has been about bringing kindness to the workplace. And when you have conflict, dealing with conflict in a calm, kind manner is a strategy, not only a virtue, but a strategy that is generally going to get you to the better place. So as coaches, and I think that I can speak for my colleagues, is helping our clients to look at the situation at hand and how to step into it in a calm, kind way is something that can potentially provide a good outcome. Doesn't have to be rough. It doesn't have to be tough.
Yeah, Debbie, this is Catherine. I would agree with that. I think recontextualizing conflict or helping our teams to learn to do that is huge. We see it as something negative. And I think I've spent a lot of time with teams doing some, interesting exercises around what would it be like if every time we approached because what is conflict, right? It's a difference of opinion. It's a difference of perspective. We see things differently. And so, and we want something different from someone else. That's where the conflict is. There's a difference of expectations. And so if we said, what if you came to that conversation that to align your expectations and to understand each other's perspectives and find a common way forward. If you came to that and had success every time, you'd feel different about it.
Mhm.
And so, because we always feel different about something we have success with continuously. And so what I try to sort of open their eyes to is that we should give ourselves a little break. We really didn't learn how to do this at home,
Yes.
most of us. So if we had parents that showed us a great model of how to handle conflict, we were lucky. But most of us didn't, and most of us didn't take a class in it. So here we are in the workplace, and if you get more than one person in any environment, you're going to experience a difference of expectation and perspective. And so, so anytime you come into a team, whether it's a family team or a business team, you're going to have it. And so, if we give ourselves a break and say, what if we could learn a few simple skills that could change the way we enter into this, change the level of success we have, and therefore allow us to just reframe conflict, so that we actually, it's weird when you get good at it. And I know this from personal experience, weirdly, you actually lean into it. You see conflict erupt and you're like, I can make that better. Here's this person all upset and angry, or this person is all, negative, or whatever that might be. And when you've gotten good at the skills, you actually lean in because you can help it. And that's, I think you nailed it on the head. I think we have a very weird frame and definition for conflict. If we could change that,
Right.
and that would be open the door to learning the skills to manage it a little better.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree with that. If you're thinking that conflict is dysfunctional in the workplace, it's the wrong perspective. It's going to happen.
I once heard someone say that any relationship is stagnant if it is without a conflict. If it's without any differences of perspective or opinion, it's actually stagnating. And so if you want to be in a growing, maturing relationship, then conflict can represent growth, because that gives you a place to have those discussions. So
It can. I can see that raising your hand doesn't work with this group. I'm not waving.
You know better than that, Larry.
I wasn't waving
That's
hello,
why we need video.
but I
Oh,
do want to piggyback on that.
Oh, there we go.
Having-
we
Hey,
have
we got
video.
it.
Good.
Okay, so we can,
Everybody can click on their videos and then we can see
okay,
each other.
now I
How
can really give it to you.
Yay.
Great.
No. But those expectations are really important, because you're right. People see conflict as something that's negative. And I think what they need is that they need a tool. They need some boundaries. You guys have probably heard these phrases like, well, I didn't want to throw anybody under the bus. And they work in a small environment with like 5 other people. Everybody knows what everybody else had to say. So the idea that you're throwing them under the bus doesn't really fit here, because we all know that it was said and we all knew who said it, if I'm making any sense. So my point is, the tool that I would give a team member is, look, we're here to accomplish something. And so if everybody understands their expectations of what their job is, if you need to discuss something that's related to getting the job done, then that's a fair conversation. You're not throwing somebody under the bus because you approach them about where they place the chart. If that was their job, to put their chart over here, then that's a fair conversation. And it's not okay for the other team members to get upset because you brought it to my attention. And the leader, the dentist, has to give everyone permission that, hey, you're right. Even though they're not your direct supervisor, we all supervise one another here. And if they have something to talk to you about in regards to the way that you do your job, we had a meeting and we said that we'd clean up after ourselves, and then you didn't. You didn't clean up after yourself. You know what goes on in a meeting. They'll say, let's put I always use the example of the coffee cup, and people who know me know what I'm going to say, but we all agree at a meeting that we're going to put our coffee cup away, and then the meeting ends and Larry's coffee cup is still sitting there on the table. And nobody goes to Larry. Nobody says anything to Larry, but everybody's talking to each other. When they go out to lunch, did you see Larry's coffee cup out there? When they talk to each other after work, is that cup still there? It's like, yeah, I've been making little hash marks every time he passes by. My point is, Larry agreed to clean up after himself. He didn't do it, but nobody comes to him about it, but
Yeah.
they talk to each other. And so everybody needs permission that if it's related to the job, if it's related to something that we agreed to, then you get to approach that person. So I feel like you have to give team members not only the expectation, but you also have to give them the tool. You have to say, this is the time that you can step in. If I
Does that come from day one during the hiring process and job description, and giving them the permission and explaining that, from the get-go, from day one, once this employee is hired, to kind of let them know this is how we do things?
Ideally.
That's a great question. That's great, Eric, because what you're bringing up is what we would call a competency. So there's like the skill set and then competencies. And one of those competencies is the ability to actually do this type of communication that Larry's talking about. I mean, I would add that not only is it giving them the skill set on how to do it and permission and laying down the expectation, but that it's about practice. Because let's face it, the reason we're passionate about this subject is because it is rampant in our industry. I think it's rampant in a family system. I think it's just rampant. People don't want to tell the truth or handle conflict. They want to talk to somebody else about it, which is completely ineffective. And so this is a muscle we work on all the time with the teams that we work with.
Yep.
So let's say there's an attendance issue. Let's say there's a staff member that's showing up late, or how do you have that conversation with them to kind of set things straight in a productive way?
Well, it's been said that you're upset for one of two reasons. If you have an upset, it's for one of two reasons. Either there was never an agreement about the thing you have a difference in opinion on, or there was an agreement and the agreement's been broken.
Yeah.
No agreement or a broken agreement. Those are the two main reasons people get upset, rightfully so. And so in that example, Eric, you had an agreement. Work starts at 7:45. It's interesting. I'll ask audiences all the time, an audience of one practice. So I have a team meeting in a business and I say, what time does work start? I have never, ever had it where everyone gives me the same answer. So sometimes they think they have an agreement, but this one says 8 and that one says 7:45 and this one says 7:40 and this one says 7:30. And so I think number one is figuring out if you have an agreement and if everybody is in alignment with that agreement. And that agreement for something like this comes from the top. It has to come from the top. This is when the owner says or the manager says work starts. And I contend that there's 4 reasons people don't do what we want them to do. One is they aren't clear. And I think we start with the 4th one. I'll give you all 4. We start with the 4th one often, but we miss the first 3. The first one is, was this person clear? Right? Well, were they clear on the agreement that we started work at 7:45? Second, so, and how you know someone's clear isn't that you think you were clear. The only way you know if you were clear is that they can repeat it back to you in a way that's satisfactory to you. And then secondly, if they were clear, were they trained? So in that instance, you probably don't need training, but in many instances you might. So like somebody like Larry's example of the gossip, somebody could be clear that the standard in the agreement and the practice is no gossip, but they could not have the training on how to go directly to the person and feel confident, right? So are they clear? Are they trained? The third one is, are they capable? In other words, do they have the IQ to do this task, or do they have the physical capability to do this task? But if you could check yes to clarity, trained, and capable, the last one is, are they willing? Are they willing? And often I find, are they willing is actually, they don't agree. They don't agree that's when we should start work, or they don't agree that's how we should do that thing. But it comes out as they're clear and all the other things, but they're just not willing. So I think, having discussions with your team and especially management about those kinds of things and getting the agreement clear, then it's easier to sit down with someone to say, I totally respect that it might not work for your life to be here at 7:45, the kind of mother you want to be, the kind of father you want to be, the kind of whatever. I get it and I respect it. If you work here, then the agreement is that you're standing ready for the meeting at 7:45 with your coffee already consumed, with your lipstick on, with your lab coat on, ready to go at 7:45. So that's the standard. I'm clarifying the agreement and I'm trying to figure out where we are in those four things. And if they're not willing, then it's not a good alignment. But I think we often go to willing before we've actually made sure we've done our work to be clear, to get them trained, to all that.
Now let's say we've gone through all of those four stages. We've made it clear. We have a clear agreement. We've trained. They're capable, willing, but now the performance just isn't there. How do we address a performance issue?
Well,
Go ahead, Deb.
Okay, well, my intention would be if I feel that I did a good job vetting a situation and provided the training and did all of those things that are necessary, and actually I believe your responsibility in helping to make a new person successful in your practice, that I'm providing feedback along the way. So there's no surprises.
Right.
If we get to that sort of point of no return, that this person simply, whether it's a willingness issue that Catherine brought up or a capability issue, that there's clarity there. So you do your darndest to rehabilitate, give feedback, provide extra training along the way. And once again, that is kind when we take that approach.
Right.
There is communication and there is clarity. And sometimes, Eric, you get to that point where that person, for whatever those reasons are, simply isn't a good fit for your practice. And it's kinder to let them go than to elicit some of the behaviors that all of us have seen too often, which is, I knew she'd never get it, or they're passive aggressive, or whatever it is that they're doing, that they'll hope that that person will leave on their own. Absolutely wrong. But it takes that communication to help them understand that. Oh, what happened? Oh, Lair, did you have something to
Well,
say?
what I was going to say is,
Yeah.
as a part of training, they have to demonstrate what they've learned,
Yes.
and so that you can see that they know how to do it. And when you see that they don't know how to do it, or they can't take corrections or whatever, then I always advise that you hold them accountable for what you want them to be responsible for. I want to talk to you about something that we agreed, or something I showed you. When you take pictures, I don't want chins or nose hairs or whatever it is. And regardless of what we do, it doesn't seem like you're able to do that. My point is, if you hold them accountable for what you want them to be responsible for, they will either start going to other team members to figure out, how are you doing that, but I can't do it. The doctor is showing me X, Y, and Z, but I still can't figure it out. So what you want to do is create accountability by having them go to other team members, but they won't do that if they don't feel the pressure of
That's
not
right.
doing the job correctly. They always make excuses like, well, I can't do that. Just like the person who says, I know that we start at 7:45, but I can't get here at 7:45. So they act as if though that's okay. And the rest of the team is going to have to make a compromise or some kind of an accommodation for them. It doesn't work like that. The leader also has to be willing to accept, I might have somebody here who can't do the job, and I can't be afraid to tell them how I want that job done. I can't have that fear that like they're going to quit or go someplace else, because they know they can sniff that out. They know that's what you're doing. And the reason why they know it is because they know I got away with it, and the rest of the team knows that you're letting me get away with it. So the bigger problem for the doctor is the cumulative effect of everybody who knows what's going on. And so it's not the performance that's lacking from this one person. It's all the performance that's lacking from everybody. And that's what I try to get doctors.
Hey, Jerry.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, kind of tying all this from what everyone has been saying, as far as the dentist being the leader, does the dentist always have to be the leader? What if I'm a total introvert? I've had my face in textbooks for 25 years, and now I'm expected to lead a team. Can I pass those, and I'm just not comfortable with it. Can I pass those duties on to an office manager or another leader and kind of take control of this?
So I'm going to answer that yes, and I think that no matter what, when we are the business owner, whether you're a practitioner, whether you're a coach or consultant, you don't get to abdicate your role as leader. What you can do, and what I love to see happen, is that we have another person on our team, whether it be an office manager or a clinical lead, or you have leads in different areas, that you raise up and partner with in the leadership and accountability of your team and your practice. But you don't get to abdicate. But do I agree or think that it is fair that all of that rests on the doctor owner? Absolutely not. Being married to a doctor owner, I know his strengths as a clinician, his strengths as a compassionate, loving, empathetic human being, and his challenges as also trying to be the leader and manage all of those key pieces, like you said, Eric, when that's not what you went to school for, and that's not where your focus is, it's hard. So I think it's yes and, or both and. You don't get to advocate, but you don't have to be the sole responsible person.
I love that, raising up, another person or another group of leads. Melinda, how do we develop a team? Let's say my practice is growing, my business is growing, my team is growing. How do we develop this team to the way we want it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm a big believer that when we hire people, we do some assessments and we figure out what their natural strengths are. And then, we look at where the opportunities are in the practice and grow those people to those opportunities. So team leaders is a great concept. Jerry was talking about team leaders, and I just so believe in that concept of having a leader per department. And that's a position that we're always looking, okay, who can we grow up to do this? Who has some of those natural skills that if we just laid out a training program for them and some skill sets and some mindsets, we could actually get them to that place where they could be an amazing team leader. Or Eric, I also have something called team champions, because they might not want to be a leader, but they might be really good at equipment or fixing things or calling patients. There are people that's their sweet spot. So I love to look at what are people naturally really good at, or what's their unique brilliance, and how can we put some actual training, a training program into that. And then it really ends up being what Larry was talking about, is holding them accountable for that. Much easier to do that though when people are in their spot that they're great at. So yeah. I love that concept of developing people and making them bigger and better and than they see for themselves even.
Yeah.
Now, Larry, how do we find these people? What's a good interview process? Do we just hire off of attitude and train after? I know finding staff right now is a major issue. Do we just grab anyone off the streets? What's your recommendation for
I
finding
think the
staff?
warm body theory works really well. Honestly, I would rather have the job not get done than just to have the wrong person on the team, because it's so destructive. But if you're asking me, like, how do you know you're getting the right person? If I can clarify your question, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I still like that technique where you want to know what they did in their previous job, because it gives you an idea of how well they might be able to learn their new job. And so I feel like if you ask them situations that come up in your office, if you ask them, like, you're going to have to be able to come in on time, and I want to know how well you did that in your other job. You know what I mean? They'd have to think back like, oh my gosh, I never came in on time because I had to drop off 3 kids at school. You know what I mean? And so you'd realize like, oh, okay, so you're going to have a problem coming in on time, you know, in my office. If you tell them, I'm going to need you, I want you to think back to when you took photographs in the office that you worked in before. Tell me what pictures you took or what camera you used. Now, they might tell you, oh, you know, we didn't, my doctor didn't own a camera. And so we never took any pictures. Now, it doesn't mean that this person can't do the job. What you have to start asking yourself is, are there other skills that would indicate to me that this person could learn how to use a camera, if I'm making any sense? Or they may say, well, we took this kind of picture and that kind of picture. And you say, well, okay, that's great, because that gives you an idea that you can take pictures, you know, when you come to my office. I don't like it ask the, you know, the kind of questions like, are you motivated, or do you like people, or you know, do you enjoy working with
Hate
patients? Yeah, and
I prefer pets.
right, they know
That
what to
happens.
say. They know what to say. They know to say, I love people. I love coming to work. You know, I enjoy being on a team. When in reality, they just want to sit in the back and process,
Right.
you know, insurance claims, and they don't want to talk to anybody. So my point to you, Eric, is I would always think of what situations come up in my office all the time, you know, related to the job that I need you to do. And I would ask them, when you've done this in the past, what was that like? You know, and then of course, you want to look at their references and even ask them, so of these references that you gave me, who can I verify this with? You know what I mean? Because you can't, unfortunately today, you cannot take them on their word. You have to call that reference and say, hey, Larry's applied for a job in my office. He told me about, he took, you know, the whole AACD, you know, 21,000 pictures, you know, blah, blah, blah. Hip down shot, E shot, F shot, whatever it is. You know, they've done all these things. Tell me about how well she did that. You know, and so you want to ask a very specific question to the person who's giving the reference.
Yeah.
Now, Debbie, can you do these interviews virtually?
Absolutely.
And another follow-up question is there a place more for virtual staff members in this day and age?
Yeah, no, I love that. And because it's so timely, but holy smokes, doing virtual interviews now is something that is quite common and sometimes necessary. I mean, thank goodness for Zoom, because there's always been situations where somebody lives in North Carolina and they're moving to San Francisco, and we need to interview in the most positive way possible. And having this medium is important. Now, if it's possible, of course, to meet that potential team member in different ways, whether it's Zoom first and then having them in the practice for the skills assessment and meeting the team, beautiful. But I think the point is, and one that Larry made too, is that preparation before we're vetting that team member is so important in helping you to determine whether or not that person that you're interviewing is going to be the good fit. So whether it's experience level, whether it's personality style, complementary values, all really, really important. So I'm sure, you bet, Zoom is a very effective medium. If I had my choice, it would always be face-to-face, but Zoom is great. And Eric, what was the second part of your question?
So you've had the virtual interview,
Yeah.
but is there more of a place for actual virtual staff member nowadays in
Virtual,
this
yeah.
age of dentistry?
And it can be super successful. I mean, first of all, what we're talking about, and a lot of the conversation has been around being a leader and management, and so necessary and important. And for some doctors, managers, having less people to manage within a facility is a very positive thing. And if it can be positive, cost effective, and successful, why not? As a matter of fact, I just spoke to somebody who does virtual billing and recare reactivation, and I've got a doctor that's struggling finding an administrative team member. I trust this person that owns this company, and outsourcing those sorts of tasks can be beautifully successful. I've seen it, but I, as the coach, need to trust the company. I need to hear the successes from other users before I'm going to make that recommendation, but it sure can work.
Yeah, that is, yep, go for it.
No, Eric, I'm gonna add to that, we are the number 2, dentistry and medicine are the number 2 hit industry, right? From really, let's call it doing the COVID still. Hotel and hospitality being number 1. So we sort of have to, and then of course the demographic being moms, right? A lot of moms, because of schooling, and childcare is the number 4 industry hit. So we're having to think more creatively. And I'm a recovering, no, everybody has to be in the office, and we had to work. We start on time, we end on time. We start together, we end together. All of these things we're having to think of differently, and what else is possible. So there's outsourcing, which is fantastic. Let's use the technology that's available to us. And then I have some teams and some office practice administrators even, that we are doing a hybrid, right? They are in the office a couple of days a week, and they are virtual from home another day or 2 a week, right? That's allowing them to be still a part of the team, be in your practice, but also take care of their children or what have you, because they don't have all the resources available to them anymore, or yet, or still.
Catherine, I wanted to ask you about having courageous conversations, not just with staff members and your team. What about yourself? As the leader of the business, the dental professional, the entrepreneur, how important is it to have that courageous conversation with yourself to try to figure out how to become a better leader personally?
Well, it's the foundational conversation for every other conversation you're going to have. You can't lead somebody to a place you've never been. So if you want a positive team, if you want a team that is their intention is strong around building collaboration and high levels of maturity, in emotional maturity on their team, then you have to go there first. You have to be emotionally mature. You have to be capable of having bad things happen and still adopting a positive attitude. So the conversation with yourself, leadership is nothing more than an extension of personal growth. That's what it is. And so to the degree we've grown personally is the degree to which we can lead others. So I think it's the most important conversation. Leadership's an inside out job. And I'll tell you, I think vulnerability, I teasingly say, I think it's the sexiest part of leadership. When an owner stands up before their team and says, you know what, I recognize that I have been acting in some very low level, immature ways in terms of how I have communicated my expectations, my satisfaction. I've been frustrated. I've been impatient. I have taken that out on some of you. I've taken it home to my family, and I have decided that those days are over. I have decided as of today, I'm going to step into a whole new approach to my leadership. I've got a lot to learn. And I just want to own that I haven't done it well. I have been frustrated, and I'm no longer going to just hold on to that and exhibit it in these immature ways. I'm going to say what needs to be said. I'm going to make sure I take the responsibility first for the piece of this that I own. And I own this piece, and I'm sorry. And I apologize, and I am going to do everything in my power to make that different going forward from here. You should see a team that hears that, when that's very sincere, when that is really sincere and they can see the work. It's like all the counters got pushed to 0 and they allow for a fresh start. And it's amazing. So I ask leaders sometimes, what are the characteristics of the best team players you would ever want to hire, ever imagine hiring? What are the characteristics? And almost always they say some version of self-starter. They take responsibility for their own actions and their own outcomes. they they aren't victims. They know their jobs, they care about their job, they care about other people. Those are the traits that you hear. And so I say, then you've got to model it. If you want a team of self-starters, if you want a team of people who are emotionally mature, if you want a team of people who take responsibility for any of their own shortcomings, then you standing up and doing that is the way to lead. You show from the top that's valued and that it's worthy. And so I think the conversation with yourself and then the conversation from the top down are some of the most important conversations before we ever bring in the systems to the teams to then teach them. When we've already had that from the top, it's a new ball game. Really important. It's a great question.
Larry, how do we figure out, what's the eureka moment here where we need to figure out that we need to have this conversation with ourselves and then, realize that we're not being the best leader, that it's time to get vulnerable? Like, what's the wake up call there? How do we make this happen?
Well, the wake up call would be hopefully before a staff member yells at you as they're walking out the door, quitting, that you're such a jerk. You know what I mean? To me, it would be one-on-one conversations that you have with team members, and you ask them, and you not in a group, not with mob mentality, but just one-on-one. Am I helping you? Am I being the leader that you need? Have I been clear? You know what I mean? And then listen for their answers. It's going to be tough for them because they're not used to being honest with the boss. That, well, you are confusing and you don't follow through. So you might have to go back to them again. So my point is I would have one-on-one conversations with team members and just be upfront with them,
And go ahead, Catherine.
I just want to add that I think the wake-up call is you're not getting the results you want. That's the wake-up call. Yeah. If you're not getting the results you want, all fingers point back to you. You're either tolerating something, you're avoiding something, you're ignoring something. If you're not getting the results you want, it's never them. Initially, it's never them. Initially, it's always here. And so I think that's the wake-up call. If you're getting the results you want from your team, from your practice, from your business, from the people, relationships you have, then you're probably doing things fairly well. But the wake-up call is you're not getting the results you want. That's what I think.
Jerry, what if we're not getting the results? How do we motivate the team to get the results that we want?
I think
pressure.
No pressure. That's a pretty heavy question because motivating other people to do something for you, I think is exceptionally challenging versus even for themselves, it's challenging enough. Like think of all the things that all of us would want to do and have a hard time finding the motivation to do them. I'm going to back up, if you don't mind, for just a second, and echoing on Larry and Kathy said is when you are also not, maybe you might be getting the results that you want. I have a client that came to me in tears at the end of December. Every benchmark, every KPI, everything that you could measure is hitting through the roof. And she doesn't want to get out of her car in the morning and go into her practice. Mm-hmm. So, and that comes back down to the leadership and the team is unmotivated and she tries to throw money at them and all of those things, and none of that is working. So how do you motivate them? I don't know that I have the right answer for that. I know that as we work to develop people, when we find their spark and we ignite that spark in the practice, whether it's, you take the hygienist who is really a great hygienist and great clinician, but she also loves, photography or whatever it is. All right, going back to the photography piece, then let her do those things. So you got to find the things that light their spark that motivates them. Feeling good about who they work with and work for is motivating, but I think you have to understand them first, meaning your team and the people that are surrounding you and what motivates them, and then find a way to make that apply to their job and the performance in the practice. So I hope that it's
good.
I think it's definitely, like you're saying, it's case by case, making them feel, personally motivated, but I wanted to throw it out there. What about monetary incentives to motivate a team? Do you find that bonuses and monetary incentives work, or does it, can sometimes it backfire? Debbie, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's a really good one, because so often doctors believe that that monetary incentive is going to be that spark that Jerry mentioned, that's going to encourage better behavior, better motivation. For some, it might, but if it does for some, it doesn't always, it's not, it doesn't last for the long run. My preference is, and I'm very involved in clients' numbers and, ensuring that their compensation and their benefit packages for their teams are fair and that are based on merit and profitability, and sharing that information with the team in terms of how they can be the most appreciated with their compensation package is important. My preference, although many of my clients have ongoing incentives that are based on a certain threshold of what the overhead is, and when they exceed revenue, then bonuses are paid out, and they're always, almost always appreciated, but it doesn't always change behavior. As a matter of fact, rarely changes behavior. So if there's some sort of incentive that is tied to some wahoo that happens in the practice, great. But whether it's showing appreciation or showing kindness or having a group of people that work beautifully together and feel like family in the best sense of the word, I find that that's often much more motivating than money.
Yes. And there's a
Melinda,
great book on that. Oh, sorry. There's a great book which everyone should take a look at if you haven't, which is the five languages of appreciation, which is also based on like 5 love languages, right? Because we all appreciate a wow gift or a little monetary, boop, that's lovely. Might not be what actually motivates me to keep performing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Melinda, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Eric, you're really talking about best practices, a lot of best practices. First, I would say, I want to go back to what inspires a dentist, to be a great dentist. And I really think it starts there. And when you're not inspired, I think the biggest job is to get inspired. My dentists that take continuing education flourish, they thrive, they are amazing, right? Because they're learning new things and they want to bring that into the practice. So I would say, just what Catherine said, it's an inside job. If you're not happy, get some help, figure out a way to be happy, because it starts there, and figure out a way to be excited about dentistry. And because that just goes, it just gets shared, your passion gets shared. And then it isn't such a difficult job to get people motivated, because they get inspired because you're inspired. And that brings out their greatness. So when we think about your why, what is the dentist's why? That it's so, in life, it's so important to be plugged into your own why, isn't it? It's like, that's where our joy for life comes from. And then when you craft a vision that you're passionate about, that actually includes others, not just your team, but also your patients, that they listen to it and they go, wow, that's cool. That's what, oh, wow, I see them doing that. Changing lives is one of those, but do you change lives? And what are you excited about changing lives? Because I mean, that's what I love about dentistry. We change lives. We change lives every day. It's amazing what we do, right? And so crafting a vision, first finding your own spark, crafting a vision, having it include everyone. I do think monetary rewards make a difference. I don't think they're the whole thing. I think this other stuff is way more important, but I do think they do get us focused on the daily tasks that actually help us change lives, right? Treatment planning people, that we got to pay attention. If we're not paying attention, we're going to miss stuff, right? And when we miss stuff, we don't get to change lives. And so, it's like this amazing big pot with all these best practices that can make an amazing difference in life, an amazing difference in your practice, and for those people that work for you. So, yeah.
If I could just interject that you can systemize that. You can systemize appreciation. I have several of our clients that have created a calendar and they surprise their team every month with something really unique and perfect for that particular group or that particular time of year, and they're very different. It doesn't have to cost a lot of money, but I find that the teams where the management and ownership has committed to a practice of appreciation and
Beautiful.
passion, and so if they're on fire about dentistry, like Melinda said, and they're taking those courses and the team can see our owner, our clinicians are on fire about this work, and we constantly feel this high level of appreciation that sort of
Incredible.
it's incredible what that. So then if you add a financial bonus on top of that, well, it's all good. But if you try to buy a team's loyalty with money only, then Debbie, you hit it on the head. It's not enough. It's fine on top of appreciation. Melinda, you said that too. I mean, just it's fine on top of it, but I think you've got to, it's like me with my husband. Like, you know, we're getting ready to celebrate 7 years and at marriage, and I have to plan in. I want him to feel the appreciation I feel for him, but I have to make an effort to do that throughout the year, not just on our anniversary. That's not enough. I have to, you know, make that part of, you know, a system that I can count on, and you can do it in a practice easily. So, yeah.
So I wanted to wrap things up with asking each one of you the same question. And first, actually 2 questions. The first question would be, how do we get a hold of you? And then the second question would be, and we've heard so many great gems today, but just one piece of advice that you'd give to a young dental professional or entrepreneur out there. So Larry, let's start with you. How do we get a hold of you, and one piece of advice?
That's easy. Larry M. Gazzardo. I'm sorry, Larry at larrymgazzardo.com. That would be the easiest way to get a hold of me. My last name is spelled Guzzardo. It's in the corner of my screen here, but Larry at larrymgazzardo.com. I'm always happy to answer anybody's questions. And I would say for any new person getting into dentistry, I want to encourage them that I think they're getting into a fantastic profession and your future is very bright. And I'll tell you why it'll be bright. Learn how to solve people's problems. If you can solve their problems, you will have plenty of patience. You won't have to subscribe to any gimmicks or anything like that. People will be attracted to you because of what you know how to do. Learn your craft.
That's awesome. I'm just going to go across the screen here on my view here. So I'm going to go to Jerry next. How do we get a hold of you, and a piece of advice for a young dental professional or entrepreneur?
Great. Thank you, Eric. Jerry, Geri at ggpracticecoaching.com, or social media, or any which way, reach out that way. But Jerry at ggpracticecoaching.com, and that's GERI. I will echo, you know, when I started in dentistry 30 years ago, I never dreamed that I'd still be in dentistry 30 years later, because I never dreamed that I would fall in love, which is what I did. I fell in love with dentistry. I fell in love with changing people's lives and watching people's countenances change. I fell in love with working as a team, toward collaborating together for a common goal and purpose. That grew into a love of leadership and management and coaching. For entrepreneurs, I would say this, this is my 3rd year as a solo business owner. I could not have and would not have loved it, managed through the tough struggles and made it through COVID without coaches, without other expertise, and seeking that expertise and having people guide and help me through each step of the way. Like you, Eric, I didn't go to entrepreneurial school. I didn't go to the business school of open your own coaching company, right? So I sought counsel And I have some of my coaches are right on this screen, right? So seek coaching, seek expertise. You don't have to do it alone. Join groups where you can collaborate, like ADMC or other things like that. Whether you're a dentist, a dental team member, or a coach or consultant, whatever your entrepreneurial whatevers are. So get help, seek expertise, and have people come alongside you.
Great advice. Debbie, how do we get a hold of you?
Thanks for asking, Eric. Debbie, Debbie at Castagna, Castagna coaching.com. So Debbie at castagnacoaching.com. And, one of the things that I know is that this profession is so rich in so many ways. I'm excited when I'm talking with a new dentist and can see the possibilities for them and can help them see what those possibilities are. And so my advice would be to make friends with being a business person, that being a business owner, whether it's learning to cultivate that terrific team or understanding your business and learning how to best communicate with your patients, not only be the best dentist, but to learn how to develop your communication skills, can make this profession beautifully rich. I mean, how many opportunities as a business person do you really have to change people's lives from a health standpoint, to be able to utilize your clinical skills to grow people, grow team, change people's lives as patients, not only because of what you're doing to their mouth, but because of the kindness and compassion you show? This profession is rich, rich.
Thank you so much, Debbie. That was great advice and very well said. Melinda, what about yourself? How do we get a hold of you? And a final nugget for those dental professionals out there.
Well, first, thanks for having us, Eric. Just wonderful to be here with my colleagues that I have known and loved for years and years. The way to get a hold of me is right in the corner, Melinda at melindahereford.com. And the spelling's HERYFORD. And I'm going to echo some of the advice here, Eric. I think building a team of trusted advisors and really setting out time to have your CEO hat on and really know that this is a business that you get to manage. So have a CPA that has some track record, hire a practice coach, a professional coach, hire a mindset coach, someone to keep your mind in good shape. Have a financial advisor that will help you build, take care of your financial status for the rest of your life. That set of coaches, that trusted advisor team will actually make life so much easier. And it really is. Talk to other professionals, talk to people, talk to dentists that have had a lot of experience, and who do they use? And really look at that referral system, because there are so many great advisors, and it really is about building your own team. So that would be my advice.
Awesome stuff. Catherine, what about yourself? Let's wrap this baby up with some final nuggets here.
Yeah, great. Catherine with a K, KATHERINE at lionspeak.net, not .com, but .net. Catherine at lionspeak.net. My advice would be exactly what you've heard. Get that team of advisors. There's nobody of the five of us, I know for sure, and Eric, I'm sure for you as well. Every single one of us has had our own cast of advisors that has helped us to be successful business owners, successful leaders, and just successful professionals. And so that team is, in other words, learn how to be a leader, learn how to be a really exceptional business owner, because if you are, you'll develop a great team. If you are, you'll attract the right clients. If you are, you'll manage your business, your time, your money really well, and that creates a great life. So yeah, get the team of advisors, learn how to be a great business owner and leader, and the rest will follow.
This was great stuff. And thanks again to all the I Love Dentistry group members that are watching live or the recording. And thank you so much to our expert panel. And we hope to see you next time. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Eric. Thanks for the
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
opportunity.
Bye.
Nice seeing everybody.
Bye, team.
Good seeing you.